Hello, I'm Elaine Stevens, and I want to welcome you to Art Beat. Hello and welcome to Art Beat, where art is the heartbeat of South Mississippi. Wow, am I in a fabulous place this week. This is the world of Kris Byrd. Many of you have heard of Kris. She does a lot of different kinds of artwork here in South Mississippi. I'm standing near what she calls her artist boneyard. And her boneyard is better than most artist galleries. But the boneyard actually represents the pieces that she has broken while she makes them, and the ones from which she learns. And you're going to learn why so many of them look like little boats. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this message. Well, hello, Miss Kris Byrd. How are you?
Good, Elaine.
I want to move in here. This is fabulous.
Thank
wow.
you.
And
Thanks
your
for
son
coming.
built this studio for you, right?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Colin, who is now a grown-up.
Yes, he is.
We often talk about our children and how fast the years have gone by. Kris and I have shared many times together, and she's just a fabulous asset artistically to this coast. Well, I see you're working on some of your trademark pieces.
Yes, I am.
And as I told the studio audience out there, I told them that you work on boats a lot because your artist statement sort of hinges around that.
Yes, it does.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, here's one that's not finished, but I'm working on the glaze. These boats started about 10 or 12 years ago in little shapes, little things I made with leftover clay, and then they developed into a lot more. There are a lot of stories behind them. The first ones were for my son to send him to college, to have a safe passage, and then the next one was when I lost my mother, for her to have a safe passage. And my friends liked them, and they're very representational of the coast. So
well, they are, but as I was reading your statement, you said life down here, but throughout the world really, is like a boat.
Yes.
We float through life. Sometimes we're tossed on the tumultuous seas of the lives that we lead. And then, of course, we become a little bit weathered and a little bit beaten by it. Boy, could I relate to that one.
Yes, me too, me too.
But what I love about your boats...
And we're resilient.
And we're resilient.
And we still float.
And we still float. We
yes.
don't sink. And that's evident by what we've all endured
yes,
in the last
absolutely,
few years.
Absolutely.
But what I love about the boats, and we'll take a little stroll over this way. We're going to take a look at some of the finished products and the uniqueness of each one. You know, the size and the shape and the caliber of each one is so different. I was immediately drawn to this one when I first walked in the studio. So tell me a little bit about what this one represents.
Well, they start with a rough outside with stains, colored stains, because Mississippi boats are beaten up and they're weathered.
Yeah,
and
they don't look like those northeastern
no.
shore, Rhode Island type of boats, do they?
No, we're a little weathered.
Yes.
And these were the original few that I've kept. But they look the same, only they're different.
And when you say the original few, the original from when you first started doing this?
Yes.
Wow.
These I made for Taylor and Colin.
So they go back some 20-odd years.
And my mother. Yeah,
oh,
yes. And they were really violent because you can see what I was going through. They're very
This is a very sad
narrative
one.
for my life. These were thrown on the wheel and cut and stuck together and put on a throne base and carved, and you can see they get lots nicer and prettier because my life is better now. You know, I mean, we've all been through our times. So I've kept these 3 original because my boys want them, but they don't want to take them yet. And then this one represents the birds at Horn Island. I carved them, the waves on the outside, the shell for the feet. And then this is the one that was at the Walter Anderson Museum, which really is the grand poupon. It has the landscape that's all carved to Horn Island on both sides.
That is absolutely
and with the birds, seabird, the shorebirds on the inside.
Yes.
And this one's called The Halcyon Days, from Walter Anderson's writings about the Halcyon Days. That story goes that's Greek mythology, when a large bird would lay its eggs in a nest it built on the water right around Christmas time, the winter solstice, and the laying of the eggs would calm the seas. So those became halcyon days.
Wow.
Calm days. So here's my nest with my little boat with the glass that looks like an egg. And so this was my interpretation for the halcyon days.
So in other words, this is the mama boat, this is the baby boat.
Right. That's right.
Love to think of it in those terms,
right.
as Mother Nature giving birth.
It is. And the shorebirds that are part of Horn Island. And this is a little more, has a stand with the waves, and then the island on the inside. And then it kind of gives it a trophy look. I did a trophy for the Ocean Springs Yacht Club last week, where they gave it to their sailors. And it has the landscapes painted on the side and a boat on the top. So. Well,
the work is intricate, but it is also so indigenous to our coast, and it's absolutely remarkable. But when we were visiting earlier, Kris said to me, she goes, I do a lot more than boats, so we're going to take a look at a few more of what Kris Byrd creates right after this message, and we'll be right back with more Art Beat. Welcome back to Art Beat. We're sharing a little bit of time with Kris Byrd in her special world, which her son built, the studio. She's been in it about a year. But what I love most about visiting artists during Art Beat is the fact that they surround themselves not only with their work, but the work of so many other wonderful artists. And in truth, the statue there just caught my eye. Tell us the story behind that.
It was a young lady in a class with me 20 years ago, and she did this as her student project. It's kind of a real woman. The figure's a real figure.
Yeah, she looks
Not
pretty
from,
Greek to me.
Yeah.
She's voluptuous.
Yeah. Well, I just loved it, and she had it in a student show, so I got it.
She's very lovely. So the artist helping the artist and paying it forward. I love that.
Yeah.
So some of the other things, which are beautifully mixed with Kris's boats, are teapots and vessels and urns and candlesticks. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorite pieces there.
Well, each piece has something for me to learn from, and that's why they're here. I like a certain part about it. I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I love this one. This is Sam Chung.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's a teapot. It's porcelain.
Looks like something you'd see at the Ore.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's porcelain. It's all hand built, and I love the way he builds these, but this is soda fired, and I don't have a soda kiln, but his structure and his composition is just wonderful.
So where did you find this piece?
I know Sam. He used to live in Michigan, and now he's head of the ceramics department, I believe, in Arizona. But most of these are friends that I know.
And you call them collectibles. This is
they are. These are really. And this girl, this is Susie Lindsay, who does Salt Fire too. She lives in North Carolina, and this is all carved and cut. And I'm going to Chile with her in January for 3 weeks to study clay with her.
And I'm not, but that's okay.
And these are beautiful teapots. These are thrown, cut,
it looks
darted.
like wood almost. It looks it has such a wonderful finish to it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, she's a real great.
So what will be happening in Chile?
I'm going for a 3-week workshop to a remote location to do my stuff with other teachers and to work with other Chileans to help. We're all going to teach each other, I think.
Well, I think that's what's so remarkable. When you meet someone like Kris Byrd, you know that she doesn't stop. She just doesn't stop at creating one type of art form. You have continued with your work for many, many years. And I know that you have done some painting in your life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
I was a painter first, and I'm still a painter, but I'm doing ceramics right now. I still paint, as you can see.
Oh, I
from
can see the
boats.
painting is
Yeah.
extremely detailed. I have to ask about that quirky little teapot on the end over there. Can we walk over there
Sure.
and take a look at it?
We can get to it.
If you can get to it.
I got it from a guy. He's from the Ore.
Mm-hmm.
He sold
It looks
at-
like an ore piece, yeah.
And
It has a George Orr feel to it, doesn't
he
it?
does. Very dancing and whimsical.
Either that or an intoxicated Asian person that created that.
His work refers, he lives in the Midwest, and his work refers to silos.
Oh, yeah, I can see
them
that.
now? Mm-hmm. And these are thrown and cut and put together. Has that black stain that I like.
But it has a little dab of pink here and there.
Yeah,
so that's
those
unusual.
are like the little eyes, but if you can see how the silo
I see the-
works.
yeah, beautiful.
You know, the corn silos.
I especially love this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost got a human type of look to it.
Yeah, it's very whimsical,
It
like
is.
George Orr's work.
It does, yeah.
Very whimsical.
Well, Kris told me earlier that she's got all this paint in here, that she's been moving around. Eventually she'll get it all situated, but she said to me, I don't paint right now, but I will paint someday. So in a later segment we're going to take a look at that. But I noticed you pulled out a book on Walter Anderson, and that you are obviously influenced by his
Yes,
work.
of course.
So
And George Orr.
And George Orr. And who else are you influenced by?
Right now, I do a lot of reference work with I had one, Robin Harper, ceramics. You know, these are potter people, but in the big scheme of things, you know,
This is
where
amazing.
I live, Anderson.
Yeah,
but
the
that's
Walter
not-
Anderson. This is where we live, and this is a true influence for all of us down here.
I know, but there's a better book, and I can't that I look at. It's not that one, but I mean that one's okay.
Well, now I also heard you mentioned Greek mythology.
I did.
So tell me how that comes into play. I mean, the boats look very from another era, from very Grecian, from that type of period. But
Right. The Greeks just always had very good words to explain artistic talents.
thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. And they don't have a lot of words. They don't need them, but they do it succinctly.
Even though the Greeks I know, girlie.
Yes, but the Greek sayings, the Greek mythology were very much related to the water.
True.
And
Masters of the Sea.
masters of the sea and artwork. They, you know, revered their artists. They weren't just somebody on the street corner.
Well, and there was a realization that something wonderful and lasting was being created, even in those days and times. It wasn't just about survival. It wasn't just about day-to-day life. It was something that left a legacy.
And beauty.
And beauty. And Kris Byrd certainly does that, everyone. And we're going to look at some of her work on canvas when we come back with more Art Beat right after this message. Welcome back to Art Beat. You're watching a wonderful artist's work this week. Her name is Kris Byrd, and she does a variety of things, as most artists do. Most good artists, I should say. And especially ones that do doggies are my favorite, obviously. This is an amazing work. And tell us a little bit about it, Kris.
Well, this is the story about my second dog that was a rescue dog from Katrina. And he was left and fenced. This is barbed wire that I tried to make pretty. And he was left and found by my neighbor and friend. So he joined his brother. They're 7 now, but this is kind of his bed that was made for him, that he didn't really need to be contained.
And this is Mr. Diesel Dog, right?
This is Diesel, yeah.
Yeah, we call him. Well, they're right here. I mean, they're right here watching us and listening to us and taking it all in and listening to the work that you've done about them. And it's just amazing how peaceful
There's
they
another
are.
one here, too. I forgot about that.
Really?
This
okay.
is for Duke.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's for Duke. So we've got one of Duke and one of Diesel.
Yeah. Duke and his
Absolutely.
paws and the red doors that I put in a lot of places.
Wow, that's absolutely beautiful. Well, Kris was telling me earlier that this painting was to have been donated to the Humane Society.
That's right.
It just so happens that at IP on March the 11th, 2010, we're doing Diamonds for Dogs, Carrots for Cats, which has become a trademark event to raise money for the Humane Society. And Miss Kris Byrd is donating this to
Yes.
us. So Bonnie Miller, in case you're watching, she's the executive director, just met with her recently. We have our first auction item here. Thank you,
Yes.
Kris. This is
Sure.
absolutely beautiful. We're
Thank
going to
you.
leave little Duke behind, though, but
Yeah,
he's
he's mine.
just beautiful.
Thank you.
Gosh. Okay, I want to talk about the painting behind us, and you called it an underpainting.
The flowers.
The
yes.
flower, yeah. And why do we call it that?
Well, when you start a painting, you have to decide where you're going to put everything.
Sure.
And I do drawings before I get to the painting, and so this is kind of some red flowers, maybe roses in a vase.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start with dark colors or bright colors that I use the opposite color when I finally get up to it. This is a painting that would be directly related to that one because the colors have changed enough to where, see, here's the vase and the movement of the flowers.
Yes.
And that's got the same structure here and there, and the red flowers, but the red flowers could definitely become green or yellow.
So this is sort of the golden counterpart to the...
Yeah, it's the
red,
finished piece
the
as
finished
compared to
piece.
the underpainting and
Wow, how
what I start.
amazing.
It'll,
Yes.
That one will have more structure as a rose, but this is still very floral and in a vase.
Now, is this acrylic?
Yes, it is,
It's
on
acrylic,
paper.
Okay. Now, Kris was telling me that we have to talk about her boots, not the one she's wearing, but the one that she painted. So let's take a
You
look at
just
those.
lean it right there.
All right, great. Yeah, they're very much an eye catcher when you see them on the wall. And how did you do that? I mean, I have this vision of you looking down at
That's
your thing.
exactly what I did.
Oh, wow.
I stood there and painted them. I was trying to figure out something to paint, and when you can't find anything else, you always look at your shoes, and I had on great cowboy boots.
Well,
so I
and
just
do you
stood
still
there.
have those?
Oh, yeah. That's just painted 1 year ago.
This is fabulous.
So I like my boots, and I like the painting, so it lives in my studio.
So now I know that you're preparing for the holidays and you're
Yes.
getting a lot of your work done. So what about the canvases? Do you sell those as well?
No, these are very personal right now.
Yeah.
I have a good stash that I can paint on later, but I can't seem to do two things at once. I'm very focused into one medium, and this medium is clay right now.
Well, it's definitely magnificent. I mean, it certainly has a unique flair to it, and it's so Kris Byrd.
Thanks, Elaine.
And the last name fits it, doesn't it?
Yeah, the birds. That's right. That's right.
Well, we'll be back with more Art Beat right after this message. Welcome back to Art Beat. My guests are not only Kris Byrd and her artwork, but Duke and Diesel, and they want to be on camera, so I guess we're just going to let them because they're bigger than we are.
Yes, they
Well,
are.
obviously they've been an inspiration to you. I noticed in the studio you had that little saying about dogs. Would you care to tell everyone about that?
Oh, well, it says if you...
The use of dogs.
The use of dogs means that you're kind of untamable and wild like they are.
And aren't we, though?
Yes.
I mean, I have 4 precious ones at home, but I'm so glad to see that you're painting the animals as well.
Sure, they're my love, too.
Well, I opened the show with this beautiful shot behind me, what you call your artist boneyard,
Boneyard.
which is, as I described to the audience, far more fascinating than most artists' galleries, but these are your broken pieces. So would you care to tell us from which you have learned the most?
Oh, I've learned something special from everyone.
I would think.
You
'cause the
can't
shapes
pick
and-
a favorite
How
child.
can you not? Yeah, I mean, look at that one up there with the red inside and all the detail on the outside.
Yeah, everyone's special. And when I get tired or when I kind of lose a little creativity, I can't think of what else to add or what to change or where to go with it, you know, I come out here and I pick up a piece and I'll say, oh yeah, I remember doing that. I really like that part.
So it moves you forward into
It
another
does.
direction then
It
with
does.
your art.
It makes you think about new ways to go, new things that you can do from something old. And, you know, with pottery, you can make notes, but there's nothing like actually holding the piece in your hand and looking at it and touching it and feeling it. And most potters I know want you to pick up their work,
Yes.
touch it, hold it, turn it over, feel the edges, feel the weight of it. And when you hold something in your hands, you have a connection with it. To me, more than looking at a piece of art on the wall.
Oh, I totally agree. Now, your pieces are functional.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
They're
I
functional.
hope that people would use them to put nuts or food or whatever. A friend of mine used to have several of them, and they were on pedestals, and she would make the most elaborate cocktail table with stacks of food and dripping grapes off the sides of the boats and cheese.
What an
and
honor
crackers.
to go into her home and see that
Yeah.
being used that way.
She was really creative with her tablescape, and the boats worked out really well for her. So.
Well, we're going to take a stroll over to your home shortly, but before we do, I want to ask you, you said, and your work is indicative of this, some of the tumultuousness of life and in the early days, and then now things are very peaceful. So where does the creative inspiration come from now? Obviously Duke and Diesel, but where else?
Just nature, just looking at something like, see the bark on those, these have been intriguing me lately, and these were trees cut down from our yard after the storm.
Mm-hmm.
And the bark on the edge of this just is really, has something that connects with me. So, you know, maybe I'll build a wooden bottom or pedestal and put some boats on the top. Or maybe I'll make a box that looks like it's wooden, because this is, the work I do now has a lot of stains.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like glossy glazes,
Right.
they're like
Darker.
dark and kind of different colored stains, and this could be stained really
Have
easily.
you worked with this piece at all yet?
No,
So this is as natural as it is.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it, her eye is so magnificent that it does look like nature's own beauty has just really varnished it and put a beautiful stain on it, and the texture is magnificent.
Yeah, there's 3 there, and that's why they're sitting there, because I just really, the other day saw them laying in the yard and picked them up, and yeah, because of the quality of the surface.
Well, no surprises. The life that Kris Byrd lives away from her studio is as beautiful as the work that she creates in her studio. We're going to take a little walk over there and take a look at the Ishii house.
Okay.
You've been in for about, what, 35 years, right?
35 years, yes, with my lovely husband, Mr. Bob.
Mr. Bob.
Mr. Bob.
Well, it really is no surprise that you live in a piece of art.
Yes,
I mean,
thank
the
you.
architectural design of Carol Ishii, and of
Yeah,
course,
great Ishii house.
a great Ishii house, and Kris made this.
Come on in, Elaine.
Thank you. And the doggies are joining us.
Yeah. And the cat.
Well, if you have just joined us, you're watching Art Beat, and we're talking with Kris Byrd and her puppies, Duke and Diesel, of course. We can't leave them out of the picture, can we?
No.
We are standing in Kris's home, which, the world of the artist, she surrounds herself with beauty. That's no surprise, because you create beauty. This is the home of Carol Ishii Design.
Right.
Right, and you've been here for about 30 years.
Right, about 30 years.
Now, does the home itself inspire you to work?
Absolutely. These homes have such personality.
Don't they, though?
And each one's unique, but they resemble each other.
Yes.
So if you go into another home that was built by Carol Ishii, you will know it. They have the same similar white and windows and woods. You know, there's no really yard, and they're just real easy to live in.
You heard that, no yard, no
yard.
grass to cut. But then you have this wonderful vista of Mother Nature that peeks in at you 24/7,
Right.
4 seasons a year.
Yes,
And it's just
wonderful.
magnificent, and you see all the animals and all of
Yes.
the earth just giving bloom or dying off in winter, right? How
It's
magnificent.
these houses just really, you know, they take you in, they comfort you, they take care of you, except for Katrina.
Yes, the home was damaged in Katrina,
Yes.
and you said you had 5 feet of water.
5 feet of water.
So,
And we gutted and waited. And then in the spring, my son came home from college and helped rebuild. He was young, but he learned. And he learned to do the Ishii sheetrock and mud work.
wow, that's a technique all on its own.
It is, it is. And we rebuilt it in a year and moved back in.
How different is it than the way it used to be?
The floor plan is the same. There are, of course, different furniture. The same piano.
Wow, you saved the piano.
It turned over and it got cleaned up and rewired. Yes. It's still the same layout. I like the way it was, so I
Yeah.
just am happy to be back.
It's magnificent.
It feels good.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So, who plays the piano?
Both of my boys played when they were growing up.
Uh-huh.
My mother played beautifully, and no one plays right now because I took piano lessons one time, and the teacher said, "Mrs. Byrd, I think you need to go back to your painting."
Excuse me.
I
Well,
was
I
not
tell you what,
the person for
we
music.
are so glad you did that. We are
you.
so amazed. Now, tell us where we can find your work, Kris.
Right now, I have some new work at the Hillier House, downtown Ocean Springs on
right.
Washington Avenue. And I have a place in Daphne called the Frame Corner that carries some of my new work, and I have some new Christmas angels that are there.
Wow.
And some Christmas mistletoe balls, and a few boats, and a few platters, serving pieces.
So if you're looking for holiday gifts, you've got to come to Ocean Springs, go to Hillier House, and look for the work of Kris Byrd. And they're all signed, aren't they?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
And this Saturday, I'm going to be featured artist, and I'll be down there working.
So this Saturday will be December the 5th. So, yes, so just in case that we see the show repeatedly, but we'll know that your work is there forever.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so, too.
Yes,
I hope
thank
so
you,
too.
Elaine.
So glad you joined us for Artbeat. We have so many more exciting shows. I know. It's been great being with you.
We're old friends.
We're old buddies.
Good to see you
I'm going to
again.
get some of your work, girl.
Thank you. Thanks for
But we
coming.
want you to let us know what you want to see on Artbeat. So www.wkfk.com. Just email us. Let us know what you'd like to see. And we have authors coming up, and writers and poets and painters and sculptors coming up on more Artbeat shows. So be sure and tune in and watch us again next week. Thanks for joining us.